1 minute past 3. We're going to wait for another moment or two for our board chair, and I do believe that we are expecting the governor unless anything has changed on his side of the world today. Okay, great. I see Ryan has joined us. Okay. While we're waiting for our board chair and for the governor, I think we can jump right into a quick taking the meeting, I'm sorry, taking attendance and roll call. So if we'll start with that today as we're waiting. And Laura, if you don't mind doing roll call. And then after that, we will do voting of the last meeting minutes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, folks, please bear with me. As a reminder, the composition of the Governor's Workforce Council is prescriptive in the legislation. So we have quite a few members to go through. So if you are here, please say here. If you are the designee for a particular individual, I will, please mention that as well. And we're going to go ahead as quickly as we can because I know that this is a very long list to get through. So we're going to go ahead. Amy Porter.
Here.
Anthony Medici.
Carol Kennedy, designee.
Thank you, Carol. Brian Doubles, George Anderson.
Hi, Laura. George Anderson here. Hi, Kelly.
Thank you, George. Charlene Russell Tucker.
Here.
Thank you. Christy Pentima.
Here.
Thank you. Cindy Bigelow.
Here.
Thank you. Dan O'Keefe.
Here.
Thank you. Dante Bartolomeo. I think did I see Mark Bolzello?
I'm here. Dante will be joining, I believe, as well.
All right, I'll count you both.
Great.
Thank you. Ed Hawthorne.
Here.
Thank you. Erica Smith.
Here.
Thank you. Greg Ugaldi.
Present.
Thank you. Karen Gaston. Jay Williams. Jeff Flax. John Murphy. Joe Gianni. Or Bill. Is Bill here for him? Scanning. Judy Olian.
Bethany Zemba here as a delegate for Judy Olian.
Great. Thank you,
Thank
Bethany.
you. Thank you.
Kathy Szilard. I don't think she could make it. Is one of her designees here? No. Kelly Vallers is here. Carrie Hona.
Here.
Thank you. Leslie Torres Rodriguez. I know she was going to be on the road.
Here.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Leslie. Leticia Colon de Mejias. Maggie Hulse. I think, Jack, you're filling in today.
Yep. Jack Mahoney here for her.
Thanks, Jack. Mark Argosh.
Here.
Thank you. Marty Guay.
Present.
Thank you, Marty.
Thanks, Laura.
Matthew O'Donnell. Maury McInnes. I think Rich Jacobs is on the line.
Rich Jacob from Maury. Yes. Thanks.
Thank you. Melissa Turner. I don't remember if I saw she was going to make it today. Is Melissa Turner's designee here?
I'm here. Yes, thank you.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. There you are. Michelle James.
Here.
Thank you. Molly Kellogg.
Here.
Monette Ferguson.
Here.
Thank you. Nikki Menounos or designee Alice Pritchard?
Here.
Perfect.
Nikki Menounos.
Yep, perfect. Thank you, Nikki. Nitin Kumar. Paul Costello. Paul Pernaruski or his designee Nick Guillermo?
Present.
Peter Nystrom. Rodenka Merrick or her designee Gladys Kersane?
Gladys Christine here.
Thank you, Gladys. Ray Penault.
Here.
Thank you, Ray. Rebecca Rose.
Present.
Thank you, Rebecca. Rohan Freeman. Ryan Drazowitz. I believe I saw you join.
Here.
Thank you, Ryan. Sal Menzo.
Here.
Thank you, Sal. Shane Eddy or his designee should be present.
Yeah, hi, Peter Holland here as Shane's designee.
Hi, Peter Holland. Thank you. Sean Coyne. Shehu Mohammed. Shelley Davis.
Here.
Thank you, Shelley. Steve Sullivan, or his designee, I believe, should be present.
Jonathan Harris here as Steve's designee.
Thank you, Jonathan. Terrence Chang.
Leslie Maris here on his behalf. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Tiana Ocasio. Tony Walker.
Here.
Thank you, Tony. And Wes Alexander. Okay, we have the magic number that we needed. I see Paul Costello has chatted me here that he's here. Did I miss anyone listed on this slideshow?
Dante Bartolomeo got here late.
Oh.
Sorry.
Got you, Dante. Thank you.
Thanks.
Matthew O'Donnell with Alexion.
You are perfect. All right, beautiful. If anyone else has any other board members have shown up, you can feel free to direct message me. Kelly, I'll go ahead and turn it back over to you to conduct the vote for the minutes.
Great. Thank you very much, Laura. And we'll move forward with the one piece of general business that we have today, and that is to accept the meeting minutes from November 14th. Could I please have a motion to accept?
Motion to approve the minutes as submitted. Greg Ugaldi.
Thank you,
Okay,
Greg.
great.
Rebecca Rose.
Rebecca
Rebecca
seconds.
Rose for a second. Okay, great.
Okay.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays? Any abstentions?
Kelly, this is Amy Porter. I'm going to abstain because I was not at the meeting.
Thank you, Amy.
Abstain for Melissa Turner, please.
Thank you, Melissa. Okay, meeting minutes have passed. Thank you very much. Okay, well, welcome everyone today. I'd like to get us kicked off with our programming today with a word from our board chair, Ryan.
Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to welcome everyone to our first quarterly meeting of the council for this year. In recognition of this get together, the governor and I arranged snow, so I hope everyone made it through the day when a little bit of winter weather. But in all seriousness, we have a pretty robust agenda that everyone's seen, and I want to get into it. But before doing so, I want to recognize that there has been obviously a flood of activity emanating from Washington over the last few weeks through executive orders, mandates, and policy changes. We are monitoring all of them very closely to see what, if any, impact that they are having on our work. And we're doing that in close triangulation with our federal delegation. All that being said, however, that the mission of this council remains the same. We are pressing forward, and we're going to build on the progress that we have made over the last 6 years. To be clear, as stated by the governor yesterday, we have not and do not support discriminatory mandates. It's the policy of the governor, his administration, and the state of Connecticut, and this council that we're going to continue our work to ensure that all citizens have access to the educational and workforce opportunities that they are entitled to. Full stop. With that said, we have a great deal to get through this afternoon, and I want to give an overview of what we are going to have. Kelly's going to lead a update with respect to some business items that we have, as well as broad workforce updates. We have Katie McGarry from the governor's office, who's going to provide an overview of the governor's fiscal year budget address, which was given yesterday. We have a presentation from the Department of Labor on a labor update. And we're going to have an update from our co-chairs on the council's Education and Career Pathways Committee. And that's going to be followed by a digital equity plan. But before doing that, Kelly, I just want to say, is the governor with us?
I do not see the governor yet.
Okay, so he'll be joining us later at some point, and I'm sure he'll come at the most inopportune time and interrupt the programming, but it'll be good to have him when he does join us. But I'll turn it back over to you, Kelly.
Great. Thank you, Ryan. So we have just some general updates as I like to provide out a report out of the work that's been happening between quarters. So if we could advance the slide to number 7, please. And last fall, we had our first in-person meeting that we had had in quite a while, and we went over the updated strategic plan. So I just wanted to remind you all kind of where we're at this point as we have continued to just hone in and refine the messaging around the strategic plan. And this is going to ground all of the work that we will continue to do together. First, our mission is to ensure all individuals have a seamless and supported pathway to education and training and to a good job, and that every business has the skilled talent they need to innovate and thrive on. We're going to be really hyper-focused on that mission. We have clarified and kind of simplified the work that we're going to be doing and that we can continue to do into an approach with 3 strategies. So our approach is really grounded in ensuring that the workforce systems are aligned. All of you here on the call today and at this meeting have an interest in the workforce system from one type of a perspective, another, depending on what roles that you play and positions that you hold. We want to make sure that we're all lockstep together and marching in the same direction, and that we're supporting and collaborating against the work that you all are doing. There's so many good things happening. We want to be able to talk about it and connect to it in a robust way. We want to make sure that we are removing the barriers to employment. And as Ryan made mention to, we can't get away from this national conversation about the role of diversity, equity, and inclusion and access. And it's really grounded and foundational in the work that we do. And when we think about that at the Office of Workforce Strategy, we're really coming at this from the mindset that every individual deserves an equal opportunity to engage in education and careers in a way that is meaningful to them, and that we're knocking down those systemic barriers and some of the barriers that people just inherently have based on their past experiences. So we're going to continue to be hyper-focused on that work. And we will make sure that removing all barriers and ensuring equity and access continues to be foundational. We're also going to continue to be really focused on data and accountability. We're having conversations with many of you in the data and accountability committees and through some legislative approaches on how we can tighten up our data collection so that we can be more specific in our matrix and accountability. So that approach is solid. With regards to the strategy, we're simplifying that. We understand, we're still grounded in these 3 things, but we're simplifying how we talk about it. We are industry-led. We have been industry-led from the beginning, and we will continue to be industry-led. And so everything we do will be grounded in the demand signals from our industry partners, not only what occupations they need to hire, what are the skill sets that those folks need to have, and when are you planning on hiring them? So we can build out the processes through our education and career pathways for our students to engage in those career ladders, and also to ensure that we have sector-based training programs that lead to credentials that include industry recognized credentials, so that our job seekers, those who might not be directly connected to education, have those opportunities as well. Next slide, please. So with this reinvigoration and updates to the strategy, we're also reinvigorating our committees, and we have up here a slide on those committees and who is leading each of those committees as a chair. Today, we're going to get a deeper look into the work of the Education and Career Pathways Committee. There's been a tremendous amount of work that has been happening in that committee and in the agencies and stakeholder groups that contribute to the success of education and career pathways. We're going to share some of that with you today, and we're going to continue to highlight a committee in each of our governor's workforce council meetings moving forward, so you get everybody gets an understanding of what is happening in each of these committees. We've been also working on ensuring that the committees are meeting more regularly. Some are up and running and are meeting, others need a little bit more massaging. And we have been reaching out to folks to make sure that you're serving on the committees that are of greatest interest to you, and you have the ability to provide your expertise into. So if we have not reached out to you yet, we will be, or you are more than welcome to let us know what your preferences are as we continue to form out those committees. Next slide, please. Okay, I wanted to give a shout out to our Department of Labor partners. They successfully completed a U.S. Department of Labor comprehensive compliance review. And for all of you who work in the world of compliance or have compliance components to the work that you do, understand what it takes to go through these compliance reviews. DOL prepped for months. We partnered with them on the parts that were affected by and contributed by the GWC. And I think the long laundry list of outcomes were all of the best practices that Connecticut has and can be an example to our other states, especially within our Department of Labor region in the East. So congratulations to the Department of Labor, to Commissioner Bartomanello and Deputy Commissioner Pozzella. Thank you very much for your partnership, and we're very excited at the outcomes of this week-long, 8-hour day review. If anyone has any specific questions or anything, please put them in the chat, and we'll do our best to get more detailed information to you should you have any particular interest. We also have 2 regional workforce boards that will be going through their comprehensive compliance review in the next, coming up this month, actually, Capital Workforce Partners in the Workplace. And next slide, please. Okay, a couple of updates on some programming. We're really excited to be launching Tech Talent Accelerator 3.0. So the Tech Talent series, with a first investment of $1 million, a second investment of a second $1 million, have been very successful. You can see some of the outcomes here. We have been working on developing and implementing short-term certification programs embedded in higher ed. We've been building new pathways and credentials and building industry partners, and have some really great cross collaborations of higher education. And currently there's 229 students that are enrolled. And remember, these programs take about a year to establish. There's a lot of work that happens behind the scenes. And then we start enrolling students, and these students get enrolled in more benefit every semester. And I think the important thing about this is that we're creating really durable, long-lasting partnerships between our higher education institutions and our industry partners. And that is really the most important, I think, aspect out of this is to make sure that those relationships continue to be durable so that we can massage and update credentials and curriculum as necessary. And in the world of technology is changing so rapidly that it's very difficult to even think about what the jobs of the next, 3 or 4 or 5 years are going to be. And so the focus of the third investment into Tech Talent Accelerator will be focused on artificial intelligence. And will be that work is the contracting phase is finishing up right now. And we expect to launch that in the second quarter, which is just month and a half away. So we're excited about that work. I want to do a shout out to CSCU. Thank you for being the anchor project manager for Tech Talent, for Business Higher Education Forum, New England Board of Higher Ed, our CCIC partners. You can see them all listed there. We will add you to the top of the list with your logo. I apologize that it's not there. It should be. And just thank everybody for your continued support in this great work. Next slide, please.
Kelly, I believe the governor is here if you'd like to turn it over
Oh,
to
excellent.
Carolee
Thank
before you
you.
get rolling.
Thank you. I appreciate that and happy to have you, Governor. I'll hand it right over to you.
Great. Hey, everybody. Hey, Kelly. That was just listening in. Thank you. And Ryan and oh God, I'm not going to start naming names. There's too many people here. But I'll pick up where you left off. I mean, you were talking about AI and the Tech Talent Accelerator. I mentioned yesterday in passing that a lot of manufacturing jobs moved down to the hot belt, not the sun belt. I call it the hot belt over the last couple of generations. And I want to make sure that the AI jobs don't go in the same direction. And a lot of that is related to what we're trying to do in terms of doubling down on AI. We've got $100 million for innovation. We've teamed with some of our major universities, including UConn. That's quantum computing as well as AI as it applies to different sectors like advanced manufacturing and life sciences and fintech. I want to make sure we don't train these people and they go down to Georgia. So, we're watching the regulatory landscape very closely to make sure that this is a place where the developers and the scientists really want to be. Love your support there as we keep going. I see, Terrence, we're trying to integrate better in terms of CSU. We've got the dual degree program to better coordinate our high schools right up to community college and beyond. We mentioned yesterday our youth service corps as we you probably saw there was a group called the 119,000. Those are the kids that were so-called disconnected. They missed about a week or so a month of school. And we've been doing very good with the LEAP program, knocking on doors, getting those folks back into school. But we wanted to do better than that. That's part of what the Youth Service Corps is about, getting them involved, getting them engaged, making sure that the academic work is relevant to what they see in the real world. I see Dante here. That's what we're doing in terms of our apprentice program in particular. We're doubling down on AmeriCorps so that maybe kids who want a gap year somewhere along the way, it's a 10-month paid internship, trying to get these guys involved, get them on a track a little bit earlier. Yesterday, we also introduced our early childhood endowment. And so we're getting on track at a very early age. This is infant, toddlers, and pre-K. But it's going to be a big deal. We're going to be channeling all the surplus, rather that surplus money going to pensions. We'll still be paying down about $1 billion a year in pensions. But I think we'll have about $300 million a year goes into the endowment trust fund. And it's an endowment. It's not an operating account. You can't spend it. I don't want to add a lot of risk to our budget. But, we'll have 30, 60, 90 million dollars. It goes up about $30 million a year because we're spending about 10%. And as Everett Dirksen said, 30 million a year, 30 million there. Pretty soon you're talking about real money. But I want you to think about that in terms of workforce, because we're going to have competitive grants. So maybe that child care center is something adjacent to one of our community colleges, like we have a Gateway, right, Terrence? Or maybe it's next to one of your businesses where we can share the responsibility. Try to do everything we can to make it easier for those young parents to get back to work. We don't have a lot of extra people looking for work these days. In fact, we have the lowest unemployment rate the state has had in 25 years. So that's why it's extra important what we're doing, each and every one of you are doing in terms of workforce, training people for the jobs that are out there. We do a little bit of, we don't have DEI, but we have equity and opportunity officer. We're going all over the state trying to show these young people, these are the jobs that are out there. These are the jobs that you could do. So rather than just round up the usual suspects, which is what we often do in personnel, we're trying to expand the reach and make sure that folks are able to do that as well. One last thing, just on the backside, this has not been very successful, but I could use your help with it. I mentioned it the other day. We will give a company, we'll help them pay down a student loan. So to each and every one of the companies you maybe know or involved with, tell them, look, if they're coming out of graduate from a Connecticut school, they've got $10, $20, $50,000 in student debt. We'll match the company. If they put up $5,000, we'll do $5,000 as well. So over, say 5 years, you can pay down that student debt. It's a big deal, I think, because it gives our best students one more reason to stay in Connecticut and not go elsewhere. And it gives our companies another reason to be right here. And thank you, Katie. There's some information on it. I can't figure it out. We've had this program now for about 2 years, and nobody's taken advantage of it. Maybe I'm not very good at selling it, or maybe it's too complicated, but I could use your help on this. All different ways we make sure that our great students stay in Connecticut. If they come from around the country to come to school here in Connecticut, go to college here in Connecticut, and I want more of them to stay. Best and the brightest come here. I want the best and the brightest to stay here. And a couple of the little things we mentioned yesterday that may be relevant. It's only relevant, I think, to you, Ed Hawthorne, over at the AFL. I mean, we're trying to eliminate the licensing fees. That's a lot of things in the trades and the metal workers and the plumbers. I want it easier for your folks to be able to get to work, stay at work, not make it costly for them to do it. We try to speed up and accelerate how they get their certifications as well. So I think that will be very valuable because we're doing a lot of building right now. Our roads and bridges is up about 3 times compared to 6 or 7 years ago, and I think it's up 50%. I think our trains are up by 3 times, and that's going to keep going, I hope, under the Trump administration. That's the last thing I'll leave you with. We got some uncertainties out there in terms of what our budget looks like. We can only plan on what we know, and so our budget going forward for the fiscal 26 is it's up about $1 billion. Other states are cutting back, but thanks to you, thanks to the fact that Connecticut has a growing economy, we will have about $1 billion extra to invest in these key programs over the next 2 years, each of the next 2 years. But that said, the ARPA money is going away, and President Trump may say redirect some of that money. I don't know what DOGE is going to do, but if all DOGE does is push it down onto the states, as I said yesterday, DOGE is not efficiency. DOGE is just a dodge, and we're trying to prepare for that as best we can. I can't make up all the shortfall. The taxpayers in Connecticut can't. We're going to do everything we can to make sure we have a soft landing going forward. And I don't want to overstate, what could be happening. And I guess with that, I'll take a couple questions if you have any thoughts. But I want to say This is the biggest initiative we did going back 5, 6 years ago. It's been more important than ever. 6 years ago, we just had a disconnect between training and the jobs that were open. Then we have COVID. Then we had this enormous workforce shortage. So we were just getting people, trained as fast and as thoroughly as we could. Now we're back to a more steady state with, more job openings than people looking for jobs. We're getting back to an easier place we got to be. And I'm just doing everything I can every day to make it easier for people to get back to work and easier help to make sure they have the training and skills they need to do it. How's that, Kelly?
That was fantastic, Governor. Thank you so much. I just want to, again, thank you. Looking at your budget and your initiatives, it's really hard to say what is not focused on workforce there, because I think everything that you've done makes it easier for people to live, work, and play in Connecticut, and is very supportive of the workforce needs of the state. So thank you very much. Did you still have a time for a question or two?
Yeah, I think so. I don't want to bore you, though.
Kelly, can I just make one comment?
Absolutely.
Bigelow, I just want to thank the governor for his steady, well thought out leadership. I know I speak for many in the state when I say how much we appreciate having you as our governor.
And I drink Bigelow tea, so we got a great partnership.
Well, that's what I needed to hear. Thank you.
Terrence.
Hi, Governor. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to say, on top of Governor, the employer student loan repayment program that you've talked about a lot, and we've tried to help reinforce, and clearly we can try to even harder to reinforce that. There was the legislation that you signed last year about the student loan forgiveness that has taken into effect this January. And just in terms of the things that are impacting CSCU that came from the legislature, which is directly related to helping workforce, are things like that auto admit program, getting more students from the high schools directly into our colleges, both public and private. And of course, the PACT program, they renamed it the Marianne Handley program this year. But that, again, it's helping tens of thousands of students every year. So just really appreciate it. And I just don't, when you think of it as an amalgam, right, there's a cluster of really important, effective, impactful programs. And I'm going to channel my inner Dan O'Keefe here, right? He's like incredible ambassador and energizer bunny about the things that are really good. And these are really good things related not just to education, but to helping the people so that they can get the jobs here. So it's all really good stuff. Thanks for everything you're doing, and good luck these next 5 months.
By the way, I appreciate the shout out, Terrence. And by the way, if anyone's curious about that battle for the optimism for Connecticut, feel free to enjoy my battle with Fred Carstensen on LinkedIn.
I did see that, Dan. Sounds like a lot of fun.
I will tell you, it's the first time it's the largest group I've been able to get to pay attention to the optimism for the state of Connecticut. So Fred did me a favor without realizing it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Number one cheerleader. I love that guy. Hey, thanks, everybody. Great to see you.
Thanks so much, Governor.
Thank you.
That's great. I just have a couple other quick updates, and then we're going to pass it on to Katie McGarry. She's going to go through some legislation, but I had a few pieces that I wanted to share with you. First, we have AI skills for jobs. So this is a project that was gone through the legislative process last year and provided OWS with a small amount of money to do a project that will ensure that our residents of the state have some industry recognized basic AI skills. And so this is a train the trainer model where we're going to be training trainers who will then go into libraries, community centers, and many other places and provide no cost training to our residents on basic AI skills. So I know that I have a lot to learn, so I'm looking forward to taking the class. As we get that program up and running, we'll provide additional information. And then I wanted to do a shout out to everyone that participated in the 3rd annual Regional Sector Partnership convening. Thank you to President Toro for hosting us. We had more than 200 participants from industry, education, government, community-based organizations. There's a list of the specific sessions that were held. They were all very well attended. And it was just a great opportunity for everybody to come together and collaborate, and having those support partners, having those direct conversations and interactions with our industry leaders is really an impactful way for us to spend the day. We are looking forward to continuing to build upon the success that we've had with regional sector partnerships and provide additional opportunity for connectivity to our state's businesses, to the assets and the resources that the state has to offer them. And then provide a direct voice right back up to government in additional ways that we can help and support you moving forward. And then one announcement, and I have a couple legislative things to share. Our fourth annual Workforce Summit will be held, actually, I think it's our third annual, will be held again this year at the AquaTurf. Please mark your calendars for April 22nd. We have an amazing program designed for you. We're really going to be focusing on developing future-ready talent. We have a great keynote speaker, Michelle Weiss, who will be sharing a copy of her book with everyone that attends, and talking about what are the durable future-ready skills. This is really a focus on what industry needs around durable talent, and what our educational partners can do to help support that by really focusing on critical learning skills. Okay, and now we're going to roll into legislation, and Katie's going to give us an overview, but I have a couple things that I'm happy to share with you myself. So I want to thank our governor's office and the General Assembly for your consideration of the reauthorization of a $30 million bond allocation that was already provided to OWS, but we're looking to reposition that and repurposing it for the unallocated expenses, or unallocated balance. So we are designing this fund to mimic the Manufacturing Innovation Fund, where the entire amount would come to OWS. It will be managed under an advisory group that will be made up of a subset of all of our GWC members. So if any of you are interested, we are not at the point of making the determinations of who would be sitting on the advisory council here, but if you are interested, please let us know. And we will be using these funds to seed innovation that is existing within and supports the strategic plan, and providing some sustainability for best practice programs. We did a calculation on return on investment. You can see that in bold there. These are the types of investments that will get a return on investment back to our state through an enhanced workforce that will be contributing to our state income taxes, and also their buying power through their wages. So we're very excited about this. And this, when we start thinking about OWS 3.0, what does that look like? It really looks like, here is our updated strategy, hyper focused on these strategies, and having some funding to be able to move those strategies forward. The other piece to this is that we will be going out and looking for philanthropy contributions and contributions from our employers to support programming. So the goal here is to use this initial 30 million and seed that with additional opportunities to expand that funding and expand the programming that we're able to do. Next slide. And this is just a real quick one. You all are familiar with the data work that we did with DOL and OPM last year. There is a small piece of legislation that supports that work, that adds the Workforce Development Board's reporting requirements into P20 WIN. And so this is an opportunity for us to collect additional data around what the workforce system is doing and to highlight the great work that happens at the workforce boards that sometimes gets lost because we get really focused on the compliance reporting that they need to do for programs, that we don't always get to highlight the other state and federally funded programs that don't have those reporting compliance requirements. So happy to do that. And I have one additional shout out. This group has done a ton of work led by Commissioner Jordan on the human support professionals, and the governor's budget is recommending a wage reimbursement increase for those direct support professionals. These are the people that take care of our elderly and our sick and those that have mental health and substance abuse issues. And that workforce is struggling at just above minimum wage with high turnover rates and almost 7,000 open positions. And this increase to their wages will be a game changer for Connecticut. And I want to thank the many people on this call and those that aren't who fought for that to happen in this legislative session. So from here, I'm going to turn it over to Katie.
Thanks, Kelly. Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you who I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet, my name is Katie McGarry. I'm an advisor for Governor Lamont. I focus on youth, higher education, and workforce development. I would be remiss if I began this update by not addressing our employer student loan tax credit that the governor mentioned earlier. I'll say this is from a previous legislative session. We have recently expanded eligibility. So this is not just, you may have heard in the past, it was only for CHESA loans. It is now open to all forms of student loans. And there's a bill that's currently in the Higher Education Committee this session that would look at expanding the scope of qualified employers to include pass-through entities as well. So if you and your company or a company that you work with might be interested in partnering with the state on this initiative, I'm going to just drop my email in the chat. I would love to, speak with you. So that should be available to you as well. But let's move on to the governor's bill for this session. If we can, before we go to the next slide, there are the governor's initiative this year for higher education is focused primarily on dual credit opportunities. So these are programs where students can take college courses and receive both college and high school credit while they're still in high school. There are two kind of buckets that the governor is pursuing this year. There's the legislative buckets, and we'll walk through his bill and the governor's bill on dual credit and the implementer items that are associated with that. And there's also going to be a suite of executive actions that don't require legislation to do, but the governor still wants to take a lot of action on this and expanding affordability and opportunity to students before they even graduate high school. So I'll also be talking about that sort of at the tail end of this deck. So we can move on to the next one, please. Great, thank you. I'm not sure if maybe we could drop in the chat a link to, there are fact sheets online for all of the governor's bills, as well as links to the specific language. But I'll give you, our quick and dirty summary from the governor's office. The first element here is just defining terms. So the concept of dual credit has evolved over time, and we see that reflected in our statutory language, in the way that, folks refer to it. I even sometimes still mess up this phrase. So we're just proposing a couple of industry definitions for what a dual credit program is. So that's any kind of course you could take that would offer both high school and college credit. What a concurrent enrollment course is, and that's a college course offered within the high school by a high school instructor. And then a dual enrollment course specifically, which is typically offered on the college campus by a university professor, and is sort of what you think of when you think of a college class. Oh, thank you, Kelly. So just making sure we're all kind of, singing from the same songbook in terms of how we talk about these different opportunities. The next piece is about improving access to high quality dual credit opportunities. So UConn has a wonderful ECE program that already has accreditation from an organization called the National Alliance of Concurrent Enrollment Partnerships. We refer to it as NACEP. They are the national accreditor for concurrent enrollment programs, so offered in the high school for colleges across the country, and they have a specific set of standards for ensuring that students are, meeting national criteria. And we basically asked any college or university in the state that does not currently have this accreditation to obtain it within 3 years of this bill. But also, if you decide to join and offer concurrent enrollment later on, we ask that you get accredited within 3 years of beginning to offer those programs. The next piece here is related to dual credit agreements. So the governor is asking the state Department of Education to partner with our public and private universities to develop a model agreement for districts and colleges and universities to use. So when you're standing up one of these dual credit partnerships within a school, you typically have to have a special agreement drawn up, and you need one for every provider. So if the school wants to partner with UConn and CSU, and maybe University of Bridgeport, they need 3 separate agreements. It's quite a labor-intensive process. And so we're asking that our subject matter experts come together and make a set of recommendations for what maybe a boilerplate universal agreement could look like that we could roll out with districts to make sure that we can expand these partnerships quickly and that we're not getting bogged down in the agreements. And that's what's preventing students from accessing courses. So the next piece here is amending a practice that the Department of Education already does that's quite wonderful, which is they identify using our robust EdSite data system students that would likely do well in a dual credit program, and they send a letter to that student and their family alerting them to this opportunity. The governor's asked that the department expand this, send this letter to everyone in all grades starting from grade 8. So even if you may not initially be eligible to participate, it's something aspirational and an opportunity that you and your family are aware of so that you can plan and work towards that in the future. And so that you're aware that it's not, maybe just the UConn program that's available to you. There's many other providers. There are career-focused opportunities. It's not just, one thing. And we want to make sure that all students and their families are aware of that. Okay, we'll move on. The next component here, this is more of a technical change, but just ensuring that if a student is approved to enroll in a dual credit class, they will have their high school graduation credit requirements fulfilled by doing so. And we don't want any student to be in a situation where they've been taking classes, but they still are, missing a particular kind of credit, and that's preventing them from graduating high school. Or conversely, a student and their families may be going off on their own and enrolling in a couple of different classes and then coming back to their school and saying, you have to award me this credit. So it's just sort of closing that loophole. It's a may to a shall change, just ensuring that everyone's on the same page with approved courses. The final piece in the governor's bill itself just adds a couple of data elements to the existing reporting requirements on dual credit opportunities. So asking for a little more granular detail on, is this a concurrent enrollment program? Is it a dual enrollment program? And getting a little more student data as well, so we can have a better lay of the land in terms of who's currently accessing certain opportunities. I see a hand here, Representative Walker. I'll pause for a question.
All right, sorry. Very quickly. So in the dual credit program that you're talking about now, it's expanding into more colleges. So I'm talking from a budget perspective. Who is covering the cost for this? Or is there a fiscal exchange that's going on between us and the cities that are participating in this? How are we going to manage that? Because then I can see it going against the CSU systems because their expenses were going to go up, and we're going through that struggle. So I'm protecting my CSCU system so that they don't get criticized for spending more money than they have.
Of course, Representative. So I'll say one of the really wonderful benefits of concurrent enrollment, which is the most prevalent program that we offer in Connecticut, is that it's offered in the high school. So you don't have additional overhead, you don't have transportation costs. The student you're still using your high school instructor. So it's not posing a whole lot of additional expenses to the CSU school. They have an oversight role and, through their registrar and financial aid processes, but they're not charging full. Because of that, the student is getting charged a full standard tuition rate for those reasons. And frequently, if there is a cost at all, I believe every institution currently in Connecticut has a fee waiver for free and reduced lunch eligible students. And even if you don't meet that criteria, I believe it's more of a nominal fee. It's not anything in the realm of what a standard tuition rate would be if you were entering as a traditional adult. And
but I mean, it also means the teachers, they have to be compensated. And so it does have costs. I mean, and I'm happy to pay it, but I want it to be labeled in the right area, because I can see me having to have this discussion about the fact that they have a deficit next year, and we forget about the fact that we've done that. So I just want that very clearly laid out. So we can have that discussion later. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we can definitely find time to talk one-on-one, Representative. I'll just say, this is building also off of all of the wonderful work that SDE has already done. So we have, our dual credit expansion grants that are aimed towards for districts and getting their teachers certified, and recognizing that that's an additional labor cost that we want to be cognizant of and plan for as we move forward in expanding.
I agree, and I think SDE's done a fabulous job. So I am not criticizing SDE either. So Commissioner Russell Tucker, don't yell at me. But what I'm trying to we just have to make sure that we allocate the funds for everything, because we want our kids to have this. It helps them, it helps us. Everybody gets it, but we do have to pay for it. So thank you.
Actually, that's a great transition to the governor's proposed budget, which includes, starting in FY27, the first permanent funding stream for dual credit in the state through SDE, with an initial investment of $7.5 million. So that cost is accounted for, at least initially, what we currently have slated for 27. So speaking of budget, I think we can maybe move to the next slide, which speaks to the implementer items. Great. Okay. Oh, I see. Keith.
Thank you, Katie, and thank you so much for the shout out about the great work that we have been doing at the department. We work very closely with the governor's office and our partners in higher education and the crafting of this bill to specifically to expand the opportunities for all of our students across Connecticut to access these great courses that are offered by the IHEs. And really, it's twofold. We're hoping to increase access for the students that wish to get higher education degrees, but also increase access to courses that will help job training, provide job skills, and really build out our workforce. So we're very pleased to see this in the governor's bill. We're very, very pleased to see the $7.5 million attached so that it can be funded. Very grateful. Thank you so much, Katie.
Okay, I think that's a great transition. So and you'll see there, I believe Kelly also included a link to the implementer language and fact sheet. So as the governor's bill is very much dual credit focused, this is a little bit broader, primarily focused on data and ensuring that, to your point, Keith and Kelly, and just the governor's priority of workforce, making sure that we're understanding and have, a holistic view of our pipelines in the state, and making sure that we have the data to be able to make data-driven decisions when thinking through our policies. So the additions here are really more asking different stakeholders in the workforce space to provide additional data in, a timely manner, working with OPM and leveraging, our resources to make sure we're getting all of the information that we need into P20Win and the relevant data systems. So you'll see here, Kelly spoke about earlier, asking our workforce development boards to work with OPM and the Department of Labor and OWS to develop some data reporting standards in this vein, and working with P20Win to get that data so we can use it for our policy making. Similarly, we also ask that all of our publics are reporting up their system office data as well into the federal IPED system. That's the National Clearinghouse for Post-Secondary Data. Similarly, also asking for just more P20Win data from all of our publics, and making sure that, to build on the data piece and the dual credit, we know who's taking dual credit opportunities, but also, what credits are transferring, and how does that funnel into, a workforce program, or what your first job out of college is. Another piece here is asking, again, that our publics provide all financial data to Open Connecticut in line with what, all of our other executive branch agencies already do. So just making sure that that's a uniform ask of our agencies. And finally, we're also asking UConn and CSCU to take a look at their existing policies regarding accounts receivable holds for incarcerated students. This is building off of the Second Chance Pell work that we've done. And we see that sometimes that these holds are a barrier for incarcerated students in completing a credential or a degree. So just wanting to make sure that our current policies are up to date and reflect, the governor's priorities in expanding access to education for incarcerated students. I think we can move on to the next piece here. So as I mentioned at the top, these are the legislative proposals, but there's also quite a lot we can do just within our executive branch agencies that the governor would like to prioritize for the upcoming year. So I mentioned the governor's proposed the $7.5 million permanent dual credit funding stream starting in FY27. So in between now and when that funding would hit, he has asked that we convene an executive action committee to study and make recommendations for statewide dual credit opportunities, and how taking more of a holistic look at how our system has evolved and what opportunities are there for us to improve access and affordability for students. So this looks like programmatic recommendations that could be, what are our career pathways and how do our dual credit offerings align with our career pathways work, and how can we build that out? It looks like financial recommendations of, what are some of the barriers if it's not tuition and registration? Could it be transportation? If we want to expand career and vocational oriented dual credit opportunities, does that require traveling to a lab or a training site that they may not have at their high school campus that would have a transportation cost associated with that? And how do we plan for that, across the state to ensure that no matter where you live, you still have equitable access to dual credit opportunities, regardless of what specific subject area you're interested in? So the governor's asked that we convene this group and put together recommendations in time for, when the budget money hits in FY27, so we can really sort of hit the ground running with the latest information and industry best practice. And I think, do I see a hand? Maybe it went down. Okay. Well, I think that pretty much covers, I think, what the governor's dual credit agenda is for the biennium. But I'll pause here and see if there's any questions or any other comments. Yes, Tony.
I had some trouble unmuting myself there. Sorry. I had put a question in the chat. I really appreciate the governor taking a look at graduation requirements. I mean, we obviously want everything that high school students are doing to keep them on track for graduation. And governor's policies are, I think, are very helpful to local school districts to make sure everyone's aligned and moving in the right way. One of the things that discussions I've been in lately, and this came up actually at a recent hearing in front of the manufacturing caucus in the legislature, And that's work-based learning for secondary school students. And I'm wondering if the governor is thinking at all about ensuring that work-based learning opportunities are clearly recognized, their values recognized in graduation requirements. Other states have done this, and it's made a big difference in promoting those opportunities. And as you know, high school students who graduate, having been in workplaces, are really much more prepared for it, whatever comes next, whether it's college or moving straight into the workplace.
That's a really excellent point. So I know that in our existing high school graduation statute, we designate that work-based learning may be used to fulfill high school graduation credit requirements. However, I do think part of the impetus of this action committee is specifically to take a look at that and see, are there ways we can build work-based learning into dual credit, into career pathways, into sort of the realm of offerings that we are planning on expanding at the high school level. So that's a really excellent point. Thanks for bringing that up.
Thank you.
I see Rebecca.
Yep, sure. I'd like to just add to the previous comment with a little bit of experience that happens at the school that I work at. We are part of the UELP, the unpaid experiential learning program that the state puts on. Usually Harold Mackin is in charge of that. I know he's out right now. And so any school that participates in that is required to give the student credit. So they are at least getting some sort of transcript marker with some level of credit on it. And then it's up to the magic of the school counselors to determine which kind of graduation bucket that falls into. So at least if they're participating in that program, they are guaranteed to have a credit bearing opportunity that could help towards their graduation requirements.
That's wonderful. That's really exciting. And I will say, Kelly, I don't know if we did mention this already, but the state of Connecticut recently won a grant to build out public service to career pathways that we are planning to use to complement the work with the Youth Service Corps that the governor also announced during his State of the State and the AmeriCorps expansion. And I think that, sorry, I see. I think my time is maybe up, but to your point, I think we're taking a holistic look here and really trying to leverage every possible opportunity to build out these pathways, make it intentional, incorporate community service and work experiences, and get kids into whatever post-secondary program they might be interested in. So I'll leave. I could talk about dual credit all day, but I'll
Thanks so much, Katie. Really appreciate the updates, and there's a lot of great work to be done. And I know that there's so much expertise that is sitting in this council and here today that we will be able to tap into. So really looking forward to the work to come, and appreciate your championing all of that through this process. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Patrick Flaherty. I think all of you have probably met Patrick at one time or another, and Patrick will give us an overview on our labor market.
Good afternoon, everyone, and very pleased to be here. And I feel both excited and I don't know what the word is. The governor really took all of my thunder. He said made all the points that I'm about to make, but maybe you'll see some pictures to go with it. And the theme is that we had a period of extraordinarily high job openings and very crazy labor market, and things have moved into a much more normal level of activity with a still very low unemployment rate and continued job growth. So that's the punchline. So this is just the national numbers. Jobs surprised everybody by how much they grew in December. We're going to get the January numbers tomorrow, and the expectation is another solid month of job growth nationally. The unemployment rate in the nation is very low, around 4%, but Connecticut's is even lower. And as the governor mentioned, it is basically a 20-year low that we're seeing in our unemployment rate. The pace of hires and separations nationally has slowed down a little bit from the frantic pace of a year and a half ago, but still at a very, very solid rate. and the job openings nationally have come down to a more what I would call a high normal level, and its companion series, the quit rate, has also come back down to what we call a high normal rate. These two ideas, and you'll see the Connecticut data in a second, sort of go together. When there are a lot of job openings, people feel comfortable quitting to move on to something else. Their quit creates another job opening that some employer needs to fill. And so you sort of end up in this cycle where high quits lead to high openings lead to high quits. Both of those are coming back down to, again, a high level, but a pretty normal level by historic standards. So Connecticut has achieved, we're tantalizingly close to the all-time high we hit in March of 2008, and the annual average numbers in 2024 were actually ahead of the annual average for 2008. And so the chart on the right sort of shows where we stand today compared to where we were back before the great financial crisis. And as you can see, our healthcare and our transportation and warehousing sectors and our education, this is private education sectors, larger today than they were back in 2008. Manufacturing, finance, insurance, retail, a little bit smaller today than they were back in 2008.
And Patrick, just because that was a point of debate between me and Fred, this is seasonally adjusted, correct?
This is seasonally adjusted. That's
On a
correct.
non-seasonally,
Yes.
and I think that is the right way to look at it. But on a non-seasonally adjusted basis, I think we did just pass 2008.
That's possible. December was probably a high number. And, it depends on, seasonally adjusted numbers are used to sort of understand trends. We actually live in a not seasonally adjusted world. I guess that's for you and Fred to debate, and I'm happy to participate.
It's called glass half full or glass half empty.
That's right.
You know what side I'm on.
Exactly. And then this is where we stand on the left compared to where we were before the pandemic. And then on the right is where, the activity we had in 2024. And, the good news is that we've been seeing this decline in finance and insurance every year, really for now decades or more. That decline seems to have ended and maybe turned around a little bit in 2024. We see our healthcare industry really hiring lots and lots of people, but a pretty balanced set of job increases in 2024. And very similar to what we see in the nation, our openings and our quits have come back to a high level, but a normal level. Although, as the governor mentioned, the number of openings still exceeds significantly the number of unemployed. And it's really because the number of unemployed is at an extraordinary low level. The number of openings is back into what we've seen past historically. And similar to the low number of unemployed, our claims are running at a what I would call a low normal. A couple of years ago, we had a low below normal level of claims. So claims are running slightly higher than they were at the really, really low levels we saw, particularly in 2022. But by historic standards, nothing to be concerned about in terms of the level of unemployment claims, at least at the moment. Now, as the governor, so one of the things I wanted to just mention, I had to give a little talk today in southeastern Connecticut. It actually got canceled because of the weather, but I did create this chart. One of the frustrating things that people think about when they see our data is that we really haven't seen much growth in manufacturing employment overall over the last couple of years statewide, but that is certainly not true in southeastern Connecticut. In southeastern Connecticut, manufacturing employment has been growing at an extremely rapid rate, and I know there's somebody from the Eastern Manufacturing group on the call today. No question about it. And as I've discussed in the past, and I figured I'd show you the data from southeastern Connecticut as well, one of the issues with our manufacturing workforce is that the average age of the manufacturing worker in Connecticut is old. I'm over 60. I can use the word old. And while there's been a lot of hiring, it's been offset by a lot of folks retiring. And if we look at the chart on the right, it has been true that in southeastern Connecticut, they've been extremely successful. Or I shouldn't say they, we, where I'm part of the team, we have been extremely successful in getting younger workers to take jobs in manufacturing. And as you look at the age profile of the manufacturing workers in southeastern Connecticut, it's skews a little younger. Particularly if you look at the latest data we have, which is that 2024 data, skews a little younger than for the statewide numbers. And I see the senator has her hand up, so I will stop talking and let the senator speak.
Thanks, Patrick. The reason why we've been so lucky and so well, I don't know that lucky it is the hard work that the Eastern Workforce Investment Board has done in the manufacturing pipeline, working in almost 20 different traditional high schools to encourage people to get involved, young people to get involved in manufacturing, and working with our technical schools to make sure that that people knew the number of jobs that were available, good paying, good benefit jobs that were available at Electric Boat and at our subcontractors in Eastern Connecticut, two areas where we're trying desperately to make sure that we have enough people there. And now we're expanding that manufacturing pipeline into junior high school so that when young people are making decisions on what they want to do in high school, we're making decisions earlier and earlier and letting their parents know that these are not the manufacturing jobs of the 1950s. So thank you for that shout out. We're very proud of the work we're doing down here.
Well, I'm just showing the data, and the data suggests that it's working. So keep it up. The chairman started off the talk this morning or this afternoon discussing, hinting at some of the national changes, and I just wanted to talk about just a couple of seconds. So first of all, Connecticut's population has been growing for the past few years, as you can see in the chart on the left. But we know from the Census Bureau data that if it was not for international migration, our population would actually be declining slightly. So, Connecticut is a state that really has benefited from people coming to our state from all over the world to live and to work. And our labor force participation rate, which has bounced back up from the lows of the pandemic, is now significantly above the national average. On a long-term downward trend because of the aging of the workforce. The labor force participation rate is the percentage of the population that is the labor force divided by the population age 16 plus, but there's no cap. So as more and more of our population is over age 60, age 70, age 80, over age 90, my dad's knocking out, he's 89, so he'll be in the over 90 category within a year. He is not part of the labor force. And so, that's just a demographic fact of our state. And so if we're going to increase our labor force, we're probably going to need to increase our population. And one of the ways that Connecticut has historically increased its population is by looking to international migration, and it has been a tremendous benefit to our state over the years. Secondly, the issue around equity. Connecticut's workforce is changing. I know you've seen these charts before, but I just figured I'd provide an update. As we can see, the number of white non-Hispanic folks who are working in Connecticut today, significantly fewer of us than there were 20 years ago, 25 years ago, significantly more Hispanic and Latino people working in our state. These are workers who are employed in payroll jobs in Connecticut. And similarly, our Black African American employment in Connecticut at an all-time high, and the populations who are in other categories also at an all-time high. So it isn't just about what's right and what's moral. And obviously, the governor and the chairman made some comments around the ethics of all of this. But the data shows that Connecticut depends on workers from all over the world and from all different backgrounds. And if we're going to have a successful future, we need to make sure that everyone has the opportunities, as the governor mentioned. And I certainly believe that the data supports those efforts. So that's what I have. And you're back on schedule. So I appreciate the opportunity to be part of this afternoon's program.
Thank you so much, Patrick, and to your comments and to Commissioner O'Keefe's comments. We have a lot to celebrate here in Connecticut, and a lot of hard work has been done. It doesn't happen just by accident. It happens when we all work together, and I think we're all proud of where we're at, and that glass needs to always be full and not half empty. All right, next, I'd love to turn it over to our chairs of the GWC Education and Career Pathways Committee. And I want to thank Chancellor Chang and Commissioner Russell Tucker for all of your dedication and work.
Thank you very much. I wanted to get Chancellor Chang's voice in first, and then I'll come in. Are you ready to go?
I'm ready.
Perfect. All right, so we are certainly both chairing, as you've heard, the Education and Career Pathways Committee. And we have a great group of folks who are part of that committee, and we've been meeting. So our last meeting was January 28th, and I know some members are here in the meeting today. The goal really, and we've been having this conversation, is to advance the statewide efforts in education and career pathway work through this really robust collaboration and coordination to meet workforce needs. And as I'm sure you all know, the plan, the workforce plan that we have for this committee, there are 3 strategies. All students with seamless pathways from K-12 to college and career through dual and concurrent enrollment and opportunities. That's the first strategy. Next is to expand career pathway programs, leading to industry recognized credentials to give all students early exposure to high growth industries. And third, to build higher education and industry partnerships aligned to industry needs. And so Katie did a great job. And so we're certainly grateful to have the governor's proposal around this dual and concurrent enrollment because it truly bolsters and augments and add all those adjectives to the work that we've done in seeding this work across the state with our ESSER funding as well as ARPA funding. And so we're pleased, so pleased to see this now in the state budget as proposed by the governor. So that is really important for us. And the goal here, right, is that we're organized, aligned, and collaborating across sectors in order to get this work accomplished. And so in our committee, we've been looking at these 3 strategies and determining together what have we done, what we know that the relevant data points to be included, what are we missing, what can our partners do to support our action steps, what is the questions that we need to be asking to solve, and all of the responses to those will allow us to have very definitive goals and outcomes that we're all then working together to attain. And so that is really where we are at a very high level from the committee's work. But as you've heard, again, through Katie's, the work there, these are not disconnected efforts, and it's all of us really rowing in the same direction to get there. Let me get the chancellor in, and then I'll add some more.
Thank you, Commissioner. Not too much to add after the boss speaks, but I'll just say that I think this committee's goal, one of them, is to streamline and to simplify, right? And one of the things I think gets in our way at times as a state is that there is so much going on. It at times happens in silos or pockets. We don't find the right connectivity, and this is a real opportunity to do that, to share definitions, and then ultimately to figure out not just kind of where we are, but how we got here, and really, again, to take an inventory of that, just so we're not replicating and we're not duplicating. And I think this is a wonderful intersection where we've got some of the highest level business leaders, some of our highest level administrative and agency leaders, and of course some of our highest level government leaders and supporters to help us coalesce all of this. So it should be, simplicity is elegance, right? We're not great at elegance sometimes, and I think that's what we're striving for, because that's how we're going to hit the same shared marks. But it's been a great process so far, and looking forward to continuing. And you know what? I just got to say real quick, thank you to Christina Testabuzzi. Maybe she's the real boss commissioner, right? She's the one who keeps us on task, and we need that.
No, absolutely. So much appreciate our efforts. And the question I think Tony asked earlier about work-based learning, these are all the kinds of things that we really need to unearth to be a part of the conversations that we're having and to really come up with solutions. So the question was asked about work-based learning and graduation requirements. And just to add to that, that right now it truly is a mix across our comprehensive high schools in terms of how that really works. And so Connecticut, we were just accepted to be part of a national CTE task force looking at gap analysis of how work-based learning is implemented across Connecticut and other states. And the result of that, I'm certain, will be working its way into our strategies here so that we can have some consistency across our comprehensive high schools when it comes to work-based learning. So I wanted to share that as well. And the last thing I'll add, because I always like to put data in the space for us so we know where we are and where we're headed. And I'm looking at the last set of data on dual credit really increasing across our school districts, our students in grades 11 and 12 that are graduating, earning 3 or more credits in high school, right? And so we were in 22-23, we had 74,000, close to 75,000 students, and we're now past 80,000 students. So we see it's growing, but we certainly want to make sure that there's even more growth there, even when you start disaggregating the data. So I'm excited to join our chancellor as a part of this. And as I said, we've got a great committee working. We've got a lot of work to do, simplify and enhance and receive great results. So that's really where we are, Kelly.
Thank you so much, Commissioner, Chancellor, and Christina. Thank you for corralling all of this great work together.
Kelly, can I just add a quick point of reference? So the committee is officially made up of members, voting members of the Governor's Workforce Council. However, other members of this group, the public, can join our committee meetings. So I see the note from Jen. Thank you. I'll make note, but I wanted everyone else to know that as well, that there's a committee that's of voting members, and then other members of the community and members of the public can join those committee meetings. Just wanted to make that notation. Thank you.
Great. And Christina, those are going to be posted up on our website. And if you're interested, we can also send you out specific information. You know, as was stated, you're all great resources. And even though you may not have an official seat on the council, your voice is equally important. So we'd love to have your participation, especially as this work expands due to all of the great work going through the legislation right now. Awesome. Well, at this time, I'd like to hand it over to Doug Casey. Doug, thank you so much for coming back this GWC meeting and sharing with us a really important work that you've done on the state's digital equity plan. I think there's a lot of learnings for us here and a lot of points of connectivity. So thank you for being here today, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Chief, and welcome everybody this afternoon. I am going to attempt to share the right screen, and hopefully you all can see the slides that I'm sharing. Excellent. Okay, terrific. Well, happy snowy day. Just wanted to give you an overview of the state's digital equity plan. Before I do that, I wanted to provide a quick overview of the Commission for Educational Technology. Our mission is longer in statute, but to digest it for you, we're really all about making good use of technology for teaching and learning. The Commission is interagency and interdisciplinary, representing higher education K through 12 libraries with appointees from the General Assembly, the Governor's Office, and various other professional groups. We are focused on a broad-based 5-year digital learning plan, state education technology plan that's got the following items on it, everything from digital equity to looking at the educator and student skills when it comes to the effective use of technology for learning. So obviously in today's digital economy, technology is fundamental to job preparation and career advancement. And so that's a good segue into digital equity. By definition, in state statute, we're really talking about the condition in which our residents, our neighbors can flourish in today's society, especially within the economy and citizenry and getting involved with public affairs, et cetera. So get a little bit more into the details here on this definition in a couple of minutes. Just did want to point out the strong alignment that we have between the Workforce Council's plan and really specifically looking at the basic skills gap. And to be clear, when we talk about digital equity and digital literacy, a lot of people will equate it with advanced AI programming and this kind of thing. We're really talking about basic skills for our residents. So that they can do all the things that we sort of take for granted with technology, like apply for a job and advance in the workforce. It's the parallel that I would say is, basic literacy in order to continue learning and to be functional in the workplace. And so that leads us to our state's digital equity plan. Just as background, the plan is part of a federal program under the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act that was passed by Congress and signed into law in 2021. It was part of a suite of initiatives that cover broadband as well as infrastructure, obviously. The beneficiaries and the goals are on screen. There are specific covered populations that we are asked to address their needs. Everything from the aging, I'm right there with you, Patrick, from the aging to residents with disabilities, those who are at or below the poverty line, et cetera. And the sort of why we're doing this, developing this multi-year plan is all about outcomes. So economic and workforce development, which is in the target of today's conversation, as well as education, health, civic and social engagement, and the delivery of essential services. As someone who serves with DAS, delivery of digital services across all agencies is a priority for us. So in developing our state's digital equity plan last year, we conducted a good amount of research. We really wanted to lean into how do we define this digital divide when it comes to access for all of our residents. So we spoke with a number of state agency leads, thanks to the introductions of Commissioner Gilman. We both were able to gather a sense of what they're doing in this space already as they reach out and serve residents. Are they helping them get online? Are they providing more digital services to them? And then conversely, asking them the simple question of how can we help those efforts? How can we advance those efforts? And how should our plan reflect that? We conducted a partner survey where we were able to gather an index. And again, these are point in time indexes of digital equity programs. So what does that mean? A good example would be at a library where there's a basic technology literacy class, or a nonprofit that helps organizations roll out refurbished computers to residents. We also conducted a resident survey. We had a strong response here, more than 7,000 responses, where individuals talked about the barriers that they have to getting online and using technology effectively, everything from cost to existing skill level to just a general mindset around technology and the fear of being online and digital hygiene and those kinds of things. We also leaned heavily into the covered populations that I spoke earlier about and gathered focus groups, asked them in much more of a qualifiable manner about the barriers that they faced in getting online and getting the kind of training and support they needed. So with all that, we also combined a good amount of data from census data as well as state broadband availability data. And thanks to our partners with the Office of Policy and Management, we were able to get some really good foundational data on the availability of broadband internet at home by household. And this may surprise you. It certainly surprised me the first time I looked at it, but we're almost completely, when it comes to broadband by household, you can get a high-speed connection virtually anywhere. So we also look at the adoption rates. In other words, how many of those households are online, and there's a significant gap between the two of them. It's closing, but this question of adoption leads us to really focus on what are those barriers? Is it cost only? Is it a question of people not wanting to interact with the cable companies? Is it they just don't want to be online? So that is sort of one of those sets of guiding questions that we had moving into the development of this plan. We also developed 3 digital equity benchmarks. The digital connection benchmark is really sort of the infrastructure side of this. And so when we're looking at residents, to meet the digital connection benchmark, you would have to have a computer, a smartphone, and a wired home internet connection. The literacy benchmark was really based on self-reporting from the residents that we spoke to and that responded to our survey, where based on how they responded to questions around the ability to get online, the availability of resources, the ability for them to do simple things that we consider maybe simple, like do online shopping and set up an account. And then finally, the digital security benchmark. So this is really focused on your ability as a resident to protect your data, to have a good awareness around safe practices online. So those are our benchmarks that we sort of took as departure points for sort of gauging where we are. Overall, the statewide average for that connectivity benchmark is about 3/4. So 73% of all of our residents, according again to this mix of qualitative and quantitative data, by our best estimates, 73% had the skill or the sort of connectivity, the connections and the hardware to get online. About 2/3 have the skills to meet that basic skills benchmark, and then about 40% had met that benchmark for digital safety. When you look at subgroups, and these are the subgroups that we were called to address through the federal program, from upper left to lower right, you see the totals. Interestingly enough, our rural residents by subgroup were the strongest. And then you proceed from upper left to lower right. Probably not surprisingly, people who don't speak English well are the most disconnected, and by self-reporting, the lowest skilled and equipped to sort of compute and be online safely from their own reporting. So our goal is to have all these at 100%, obviously. And so this has led us to look at our wave of funding that we got through the first set of capacity grant funds. So moving from the development of this plan to investing our what we hope will be the first of 3 waves of investment from through the IIJA. We were approved to invest $9 million into this digital equity plan, and this will come in the broad brush in the form of 5 major initiatives. First, we're going to be piloting some digital navigation work at 2 locations representing urban and rural. The goal here is that we get real human beings working with real human beings, working alongside our residents to help them achieve very definable goals, like applying for a job, setting up a LinkedIn account, applying for a visa, not just sort of general skills, but really applied skills. From here, we're going to be launching a digital navigator grant program. So think of this as a program where community organizations, nonprofits can apply for funding to do the same kind of digital navigation work I described under the pilots. That should information about that program, we are in the nascent stages of designing just because we so recently received our funding. But we expect that program to have more information coming out about it in the spring. We're also planning to develop regional digital equity collaboratives. So throughout all of these initiatives, we're really focused on people and sustainability. So one of the things we want to see with this investment of money is that we create communities of practice. And so through the RESCs, the regional service centers, they cover all corners of the state. They're used to running educational programs and convening communities of practice. So we're going to be partnering with them to be creating digital equity collaboratives where community-based organizations can come in person, learn about training, learn about curriculum best practices and instructional best practices and how to work with adult learners. In tandem with that, we're going to be developing a standard digital navigation curriculum. So even if you never received a dollar through our competitive program, but you want to start up a digital navigation initiative through, say, your church or your synagogue or your mosque or a community-based organization, we would equip you with open source curriculum to be able to do just that. And then finally, we're going to be working on a digital equity asset map, and that may seem vague. To be specific about it, we're going to be partnering to integrate digital equity, digital access resources into the State 211 system in partnership with the United Way. This way, when residents call those 3 digits, they will be able to get connected to the local supports when it comes to training or technical support or finding an affordable computer or connection, be able to get those resources at the local level. So those are our plans for the first for that first wave of funding. As I said, we did just receive this investment. We're excited to get working on it, setting up those partner agreements and beginning the planning. So what does all this mean to the key stakeholders who are part of the Office of Workforce Strategy and the Governor's Workforce Board? Obviously, with employers, this is a key topic. We hear again and again that employers are looking for sure advanced technical skills, but even basic technical skills, and that's what we're trying to address with this program. For agencies and municipalities looking to deliver increasingly digital services, we want to make sure that no resident is left behind in accessing the services that are available to them 24/7. Non-governmental organizations are already doing great work in this area. Our original leaders in this area were our libraries. We want to see more investments into those local and really importantly, trusted resources that residents will turn to again and again. And then obviously under all this is our residents. We want to make sure that everybody who does not have a connection can afford to get one, can get the resources in terms of skill development and technical support that they need to flourish in today's society. So that's a high level overview of the program, where we're headed. I would encourage you, if you want to learn more, visit ct.gov/digital equity. You can download the entire glorious 300 pages of our multi-year plan, or you can take a look at our executive summary with details on the metrics that I shared today, and more details around some of the focus groups and some of the particular audiences that you may have interest in. You can also email Lauren Thompson, who's the digital equity program manager, and me, just by sending in a note to digitalequity@ct.gov. And with that, I'll turn things back to you, Kelly.
Great. Thank you so much, Doug. I don't think your short presentation did the breadth of work justice that you and your team, in partnership with other stakeholders, have put into this. I received a printed copy of the 300-page report, sitting right here on my desk, and I have referred back to it. I think the great thing about a report like this is it gives us all an opportunity to align our efforts to something larger than the work that we're doing within our own agency. And sometimes we just don't have the awareness of all of the great things that are happening around the state, or that a report such as yours has come out. And I feel that, it's the Office of Workforce Strategy's role and responsibility to share these pieces of information with you as they pertain to the workforce strategy, and so that we can continue to build upon and align all the great efforts, so that we're moving in the right direction and not duplicating each other. Because I hear a lot of times, oh, I wish we had something like that. And I'd be like, oh, but we do. So here it is. Let's pick it up from where it is, and let's move forward with it. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Great. And we, for once, are actually running a little ahead of time, which doesn't normally happen. And so I'll just take this opportunity to ask if there's anybody who has any questions or comments that you want to share. Ryan, if you want to jump in before we wrap up.
No, I'm good. I thought this was very informative and a lot that we went through, and appreciative of everyone's time.
May I just ask a quick question? It's Melissa Turner. I also thought it was extremely helpful. And I just wondered, are we able to get a copy of the slides, number one? And then I don't know whether it's just my firewall at work. I wasn't able to, download the I don't know what it's called, the minutes of the meeting or the transcript of the meeting. So I didn't know if that was something that could be sent out as well.
Absolutely, we can do that. The slides get posted up on our website within a few days after our meeting. And if you do have any issues getting any of this information, you can also email our general mailbox. Laura, please correct me. Is it gwc@ct.gov?
Putting it all in the chat for everyone to just copy paste it down. So
Perfect.
gwc@ct.gov is the general inbox. You can email us there at any time, and we can point you in the direction of the posting, or if the firewall is giving you trouble, we could figure something out.
It's great. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you. And that, with Laura, if you could put up the save the date. Our next GWC meetings are coming up. Save the date for the Workforce Summit, please. You can start to register already online. It's an open registration. We tried to make it very affordable for our students and our educators. And so there is a scale of the cost, and you can also sponsor with a table as well. We took a poll after the last GWC in-person meeting and got back overwhelming results that everybody really likes to meet in person. So we've decided to do every other GWC meeting in person. Location is yet to be determined. We like to partner with our academic institutions in some places centrally located. So please mark your calendar for June 5th, and we'll get back to you with the location and the agenda. So with that, I'll conclude our first quarter GWC meeting. Thank you so much, everyone, for your participation, and we look forward to our continued work together.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Take care.